Claire Morgan blended into the crowd like anyone else that morning, her hoodie pulled tight against the fall chill. No one in the bustling cafe recognized her as the CEO of a tech empire, once celebrated on magazine covers. Today, she wasn't there for attention. She was escaping the storm, media backlash, tough boardroom decisions, and the guilt of letting good people go. The weight of it all pressed on her like a silent fog. She waited in line, eyes on the pastry case, trying to look normal. When it was finally her turn, she ordered her usual, a caramel latte with almond milk. The cashier smiled, repeated the order, and Claire swiped her card. Declined. She froze. Swiped again. Same result. Heat crept up her neck as she fumbled through her bag, searching for her backup card, her wallet, anything. But it wasn't there. She'd switched coats in a hurry and left everything behind. The people in line behind her shifted impatiently, some sighing audibly. Claire kept her eyes down, wishing she could disappear. For all her success, she had never felt so small. Sorry, just give me a second, she muttered, trying to buy time she didn't have. It was supposed to be a simple coffee run. Just a break. Just a breath. And now, she was stuck, embarrassed, helpless, and feeling more alone than she had in a long time. Not as a CEO. Not as a millionaire. Just as a woman, standing in line with nothing left to give. Before the cashier could cancel the order, a voice came from behind her. Hey, don't worry about it, I got this. Claire turned to see a man with kind eyes and a soft smile. He wore a reflective construction vest, his hands rough with calluses, boots scuffed from real work. He looked tired, but there was warmth in his face. He stepped forward, tapped his card, and paid for her coffee without a second thought. She blinked, stunned. Wait, you don't have to. He waved her off. It's just coffee, he said gently. You never know when someone needs a little kindness. Claire tried to protest, but the cashier had already handed her the cup. The man gave her a friendly nod, picked up his own black coffee from the counter, and turned to leave, his to-go cup steaming in the cool morning air. No questions. No expectation. He didn't ask who she was, didn't seem to care. She watched him walk away, the crowd swallowing him up as the line moved forward. Something about the moment struck her deeply, how quick he was to give without knowing anything about her. She'd been surrounded by people who only gave when it benefited them. Yet here was this stranger, likely with less to spare, giving freely and walking away like it was nothing. Claire stood there a moment longer, holding the warm cup in her hands, realizing it wasn't the coffee that had shaken her. It was the reminder of something she'd forgotten, humanity. Back in her office, high above the city skyline, Claire couldn't stop thinking about the man from the cafe. She sat at her desk, coffee untouched, staring out the window as emails piled up. She'd built a life around logic, metrics, and calculated risks, but his simple act of kindness had shaken her more than any boardroom decision. It wasn't the money. It was the way he gave without hesitation, without knowing who she was. She opened her laptop and called her assistant. Can you pull the security footage from the coffee shop this morning? I need a name. Her assistant blinked, surprised. A name? I want to find someone, Claire said, her tone soft but firm. He paid for my coffee. Hours passed. Meetings came and went. But Claire's mind stayed fixed on the stranger. By late afternoon, she had what she was looking for. His name was Jake Rivera. A single dad. Construction worker. Lives in a modest apartment across town. 2 jobs. Never late on rent, despite being one emergency away from falling behind. She stared at his employee file. He had once applied for a warehouse job at one of her subsidiaries and never heard back. Something about that felt wrong. This man had shown more heart in 10 seconds than some of her top executives did in a year. Claire leaned back in her chair, exhaling slowly. For the first time in days, something inside her shifted. Maybe it was time she used her power differently. Jake opened the door with a curious look, his 2-year-old daughter perched on his hip. The last thing he expected that Saturday morning was to see the woman from the coffee shop standing outside his apartment. But this time, she looked completely different, polished, composed, wearing a tailored blazer and a presence that filled the hallway. "You're the coffee lady," he said, half smiling, half confused. Claire laughed. "And you're the man who reminded me that compassion still exists." He stepped aside awkwardly, unsure if he should invite her in, but she gently handed him a thick envelope instead. "I wanted to thank you properly," she said. "You didn't just buy me coffee. You reminded me what leadership is supposed to feel like." Inside the envelope was more than he could have imagined, a check large enough to pay off his debts and give his daughter a stable future. But that wasn't all. "There's also a job offer," she added, watching his eyes widen. "We're launching a new initiative at my company, providing tech access and training to low-income families. We need someone with heart. Someone like you." Jake was speechless. "Why me?" Claire smiled. "Because you didn't wait to help a stranger. And that's the kind of person I want shaping the future." Tears welled in Jake's eyes as his daughter tugged at his shirt, unaware that their lives had just changed forever. What he thought was a small gesture had opened a door neither of them could have imagined. The stage lights glowed softly as Jake stood before the crowd, wearing a crisp suit that still felt foreign on his shoulders. It had been a year since that morning in the café, but the moment still lived in him like it had just happened. He glanced at Claire, standing to the side with quiet pride, and cleared his throat. "I never imagined a $4 cup of coffee would change my life," he began, voice steady but full of emotion. "Back then, I was working 2 jobs, trying to keep the lights on and raise my little girl right. I didn't do anything special that day, I just saw someone who needed help." The audience was silent, hanging on every word. "She turned out to be a CEO. A millionaire. But I didn't know that. Didn't need to. Because kindness doesn't ask for a resume. It just shows up." He paused, scanning the faces before him, employees, donors, students who'd been helped by the foundation he now led. "Today, I get to work on something that matters. We're putting laptops into the hands of kids who've never owned one, helping parents learn digital skills so they can get better jobs. And all of it started because someone believed a small act of good could lead to something bigger." The room erupted in applause, and Claire wiped away a tear. Sometimes, the smallest moments leave the biggest marks. And sometimes, a simple coffee can brew a future no one saw coming.